Welcome back to the Bill and Doug Show. Doug Lesmerises and Bill Landis reacting live to the ESPN. What can we say that's on ESPN? They're just college football playoff rankings, and they're available to people lots of different ways. And we're going to talk about them as they come out.
Unless
here shortly,
you have
right,
YouTube
Bill?
TV. Yeah, they're available to you unless you have YouTube TV.
Yeah. So they're not available to me. I'm still looking at a black screen here in the home office. You don't have a black screen. You have a screen with people's faces on them.
Yeah, because I pay for the ESPN account separately so I can watch pro wrestling because I'm a man of culture. So now it's working out for work. I might expense it. How about that?
You're expensing it to me and you. You're making me pay for half of your wrestling subscription? Interesting. I see the long game here, Landis. So what do you think of ESPN putting professional wrestling on that sports network? Good decision?
No, I think it's dumb. And it's like so far it's been kind of a disaster. I got 20 minutes on it if you want to talk about that instead.
Oh, for real? What's a disaster about it?
Just like the coverage of it, the like Joe Tessitore calling it is weird. Like they're trying to make it like a real sport. We all know it's not a real sport. That's not why we watch it. We watch it to watch people do flips and stuff. Like we need to pretend it's real. You don't have to cover it like boxing.
Oh, they cover it like boxing? Oh.
No, not really. Well, yes and no.
Okay. This would be good. Maybe this is this going to be a big what you? We can do a big what you about.
Maybe.
Because you have some consternation about this.
Yeah, well, I was just mostly mad that I had to buy another subscription service because it used to be on Peacock.
Wouldn't that be cool? What if wrestling did every Tuesday, they did their top 25 wrestlers in reverse order and just announced it and the panel decided who was good? Would you watch that?
I'd watch that, yeah.
Yeah, we'd do a live show off that. So we're going to do the first rankings came out last week. We reacted pseudo live to that you and I reacted live, but it wasn't live. Now we have the actual live show. We have a bunch of people here in the audience with us. We're going to do what we usually do, which is give our actual prediction, what we think the last actual playoff bracket will be at the end. We'll do that, but we'll react to what the committee is doing. And then you and I are just going to like pick an upset that we think has a chance to shake up the rankings. I did a little investigation into this, Bill, on my rants this week. I looked at the 23 power conference teams that have 2 losses or fewer. And there are 10 games between those teams before the end of the season. You looked at the teams that the committee is ranking, and how many games did you say they're playing against each other?
Yeah, from last week's rankings, there are 13 games among those teams, which I felt like was a lot over the next 3 weeks.
I think it's good, but yeah, it means there's definitely going to be movement here. That there are a few teams here that people are getting to the point, and this is just like a guide, the ESPN FPI rankings, which they're ratings, not rankings. They're whatever formula they have, and I think they try to take into account not only what has happened, but based on their numbers, what they think is going to happen. So you look at teams like their percent chance to make the actual playoff at the end of the year by those. Indiana, 99.8%. Ohio State, 99.4%. Texas A&M, 99%. Bama, 95.8%. Georgia, 92.3%, right? So we're talking about 5. Oregon's 85.9%. Ole Miss, 81.3%. So we're talking about 7 teams there already, Landis. 4 from the SEC, 3 from the Big Ten, that they think have a better than 80% chance to make the playoff with 3 weeks left in the regular season.
Yeah, which is... I don't know. It feels okay to me. Like about half the field is available with 3 weeks left in the regular season. I think that's pretty good. I guess I wish there were fewer teams that had a percentage that high. Ole Miss, I think, is gumming up the works there. I kind of wish they would go away, but they're not going to based on their schedule. So that's good. I think I don't know that I want like outright total chaos right in the first week of November as we're trying to figure out what this is going to look like. But I like a little bit of runway for chaos, and it feels like we have that right now, so I'm pretty okay with it.
Yeah. Buckeye Ryan 19 is asking, do we root for upsets or chalk in the SEC? And so I think the thing that is really critical here is if you don't, because Greg Sankey is already positioning, and there's a particular thing that really could happen that opens up like the real possibility of the SEC getting 6 and like that. SEC getting 6. I can't even. Oh my God. I have acid reflux thinking about 6 SEC teams in the playoff. Unless, Bill, the idea of 6 SEC teams in the playoff is there's 6 chances for SEC teams to lose. Is it possible that I'm going to need to open my mind to this is great? I can't wait to watch Ole Miss and Vanderbilt and Oklahoma get their doors blown off in the playoff. Welcome.
Well, yes. Because we're likely to get like an SEC versus SEC first round game, which kind of stinks if that were to happen.
Yeah.
But if there were a way to avoid that, and I think there would be, the idea of going through the first weekend with 3 SEC teams losing is great. Rankings are coming out, by the way. Do you want me to tell you them as they're coming out?
Yeah, I guess.
Okay.
No, go ahead. That's what we're here for. Give us the rankings.
Okay. 25, your Cincinnati Bearcats.
Same spot.
Great bye week win. Cincinnati to move into the rankings.
Well, I will say Cincinnati, great job staying at 25 because the team that was at 24 didn't stay there, right?
Yeah.
That was Washington, so they lost, so they're out.
We have a G6 team in the field. South Florida is number 24.
Yeah, they are. I think they're going to be the team. They are the FPI American champ. South Florida, 41%, North Texas, 38%, Tulane, 15%. So South Florida deserves that spot. Good wins, good team. They deserve it.
They deserve it. We're waiting on number 23. It is Tennessee, unfortunately.
Tennessee. Yeah, Tennessee can get stuff sideways. So I do think that
Pitt at 22.
Pitt at 22. And Pitt Notre Dame is of great interest to you.
Yes, sir.
This week, right? This is, actually, I'm looking at the wrong thing. So yeah. So Cincinnati, they were in the AP. They actually weren't in last week. Cincinnati at 25. Yeah. South Florida was not in last week. Tennessee goes from 25 last week to 23. And now Pitt goes from 24 to 22. So congratulations to Pitt.
Waiting on number 21. It is Iowa. So Iowa only falls 1 spot for losing at home to Oregon, which is quite interesting.
But I think that feels right. That's a good game, right?
Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
Yeah.
Plus, there's not. I was thinking this as I was going through last week. I don't think that there are a lot of teams that you could start to put into the back end of the top 25 just because a couple of teams lost last week, right? There's a pretty stark cutoff there. I think number 20, Louisville.
20. Who?
Louisville Cardinals.
Okay, they're down 5 spots. Who'd they lose to last week?
SMU, I think.
Yeah. Yeah. So this ACC stuff is going to get mucked up. And it's probably not going to matter that much. You're very interested in Notre Dame Pitt this coming Saturday. And we're going to discuss that game more, but that Pitt is at 22. Notre Dame's going to be up around the bottom of the top 10. Pitt's last 3 games are Notre Dame, Georgia Tech, and Miami. Pitt has a huge role to play in the playoff picture.
Yeah, you said to me we're going to do a thing where we're going to talk about the games that can most shake up the playoff race. I was like, well, so just the rest of Pitt's schedule?
Yeah, for real.
is the answer. 19 Virginia, 18 Michigan, up 3 spots.
Michigan up 3 spots. Virginia lost down 5 spots. Okay.
Yeah, Virginia lost to Wake Forest, and they're going to lose again to Duke this week.
And this is one of these things where, in the ACC, Georgia Tech, according to the FPI, 35% chance to win the ACC, Duke 20%, SMU 20%, Virginia 14%. If you want to root for the North, root for Pitt to do a whole bunch of stuff. But other than that, you can, if you want to, and if you're an ACC fan, great, welcome. We're glad to have you here. If you want to tune out the ACC, if you're not an ACC fan, you can just flip on the ACC championship game and see who won. And that's probably it. So no offense to the ACC.
No, I think you're right. 17 is USC, right ahead of Michigan, which it beat head to head. And 16 is Georgia Tech.
Georgia Tech. So Georgia Tech is up a spot and USC is up 2 spots. So obviously USC and Oregon is going to be a huge deal. So for those spots for the Big Ten, for USC to be at 17 and Michigan at 18, it's just a weird spot right now for the Big Ten. We're basically the only way that the Big Ten is going to get 4 teams in is if USC or Michigan beats one of the top 3 teams in the Big Ten. Yes. So if USC doesn't beat Oregon or Michigan doesn't beat Ohio State, the Big Ten's getting 3.
They did do so. Miami won last week, and Georgia Tech didn't play, and they jumped Miami ahead of Georgia Tech. Miami is 15 now.
Okay. So one of the other interesting things here is, as we talk about upsets, I do think there are two teams that move into trying to shut Greg Sankey up, which are ACC and Big 12 teams that could make the playoff without making their conference championship game.
Mm-hmm.
And Utah has a 23.7% chance to make the playoff, according to FPI, and Miami has a 10.7 chance. Miami almost certainly is not going to make the ACC title game, and Utah's in a tough spot because it lost to the two teams ahead of it, and so it's going to lose tiebreakers. It would need BYU to lose 2 more games, for instance, or Texas Tech to lose 2 more. But like,
I don't know if
10-2 Utah, could 10-2 Miami factor into the playoff picture? Is like on the outside, maybe as a possibility.
I'll give you the rankings. We have Vanderbilt 14, Utah 13. I was playing around with a conference title game like generator thing, just trying to like work through these tiebreakers, and there's people who sort of like create formulas to do that. And in like assigning BYU a loss to Cincinnati, it created, I think, like a 4-way tie that actually did put Utah in the Big 12 title game.
Okay.
Yeah. So I think I don't know that they need two BYU losses. They would just need some help other places to create that tie that would like not bring the head-to-head in the play, I guess.
Oh, that's interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
So this is like not great news if you're against the SEC, and we welcome any SEC people who are here. Most of your teams can cram it, but Vanderbilt is up 3 spots from 16 to 13. No, up 2 spots.
2 spots
16 to 14.
Yeah.
2 spots, 16 to 14, which is just like, I don't know. I don't want any SEC teams creeping right now, and Vanderbilt's creeping.
They are creeping. So I gave you Utah at 13. BYU is 12, so they are 1 spot ahead of Utah, and Oklahoma is 11.
So this is in particular what Buckeye Ryan 19 was asking. Do you root for chalk or do you root for upsets? You have to root for Bama this week, because the worst possible scenario for the rest of the world and what's good for the SEC is a team like Oklahoma, which is 11th, getting a win over a top 4 team that would not knock Bama out of the playoff, but would propel Oklahoma. So if you want to root for upsets in the SEC, root for the unranked teams. Root for Mississippi State to beat Ole Miss in the Egg Bowl in the last weekend of the regular season. But you have to root for Bama this week, as distasteful as that might be.
Ohio State officially owns a top 10 win. Texas is number 10.
Texas. I like that the biggest knock against by the SEC against Ohio State is like, well, Ohio State beat the preseason number 1 team from our conference, but it turns out they stink. So how about that? Like Greg Sankey just playing the long game. Let's get Texas to be the preseason number 1, have the Heisman favorite. They lose to Ohio State, and then we tell them to start sucking. And that is our brilliant plan for SEC dominance. Genius.
We have Notre Dame at number 9 and the Oregon Ducks at number 8.
So Notre Dame and Oregon both up 1 spot by BYU losing.
Yes. I would imagine I don't know. I'm interested in what they do at Texas Tech. Ole Miss is 7, so Ole Miss fell.
Oh. Well, do you that might just be an adjustment? Because I do think this happens. In the room, somebody might have just been like, why do we have Ole Miss 6? And it's just like, no, we shouldn't. It's like, okay, let's make them 7 this week.
So last week it was Ole Miss, BYU, Texas Tech. Texas Tech jumps 2 spots.
And I guess that's actually fair, because 7 and 8 played each other, and the winner of that jumped the previous 6.
Yeah.
But also they should feel good. It just makes you feel good in the room to move Ole Miss down, right? Just on.
Yeah, it feels great. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think they could keep moving down too. If Oregon picks up wins out, which is to say picks up wins against USC and Washington, I think they'll jump Ole Miss too.
Yeah. Washington lost to Wisconsin, didn't do the Big Ten any favors, but again, that would no longer be a ranked win for Oregon if they beat Washington in the last game of the regular season, but you still Washington's still a competitive team with like an 8-win team, right? So
yeah. Georgia 5, Bama 4.
Okay. So then, nothing's going to change. I can't imagine why the only thing that could happen is if they punish Indiana for playing a close game at Penn State and jump Texas A&M over them.
They did not do that. Texas A&M is 3.
Okay. All right. So, I mean, one of the takeaways last week was like, I don't know, the rankings seem pretty good. There are still people who like to get wound up about things because they're just dialed up to a 11 at all times anyway. And I say that as someone who normally is dialed up to 11. But I think like last week was pretty good, and this week seems pretty good, right?
Yeah, I do. I'm a little interested now because when we saw last week the gap between Miami and Notre Dame, you kind of thought to yourself, well, they may not get back closer together that the head to head will matter. But now Miami's up to 15, Notre Dame's at 9. They both play Pitt. I don't know. I'm just like I'm interested if that like where that gap ends up kind of finishing. Because I don't know. Yeah, I think Notre Dame's fine, but I think there could be a looming Notre Dame Miami conversation where the head-to-head comes back into play.
I mean, I'd be surprised, but I mean, you do note it narrowed. I mean, Notre Dame did move up a spot, but last week there were 8 spots in between them. This week there's 6 spots in between them because Miami jumped enough. So they're creeping. You got to watch out for the creepers. So Ohio State stayed number 1. Did they officially announce that?
They did, yes.
Okay. So our top 25, if you are actually using this as a news source, and God bless you if you are. My God, it's so good to have you here. Ohio State 1, Indiana 2, Texas A&M 3, Alabama 4, Georgia 5, Texas Tech 6, Ole Miss 7, Oregon 8, Notre Dame 9, Texas 10, Oklahoma 11, BYU 12, Utah 13, Vanderbilt 14, Miami 15. Georgia Tech 16, USC 17, Michigan 18, Virginia 19, Louisville 20, Iowa 21, Pitt 22, Tennessee 23, South Florida, welcome to the rankings at 24, and Cincinnati also welcome to the rankings at 25. So, I mean, are you wound up about anything?
I am not super wound up about. I am. I thought they were going to kick Iowa kind of out of the party. I'm not saying they should have, but I'm a little surprised they didn't. Thinking on that third loss now, but no, otherwise I don't think I'm super fired up about anything. I have the projected 12-team bracket. Would you like me to run through that?
Yeah, project it away.
Okay. The 5-12 would be hosting South Florida, with the winner advancing to play Alabama.
That's a nice win for Alex Golesh right there, isn't it? Yeah. That's a nice win for him.
It's a good one for him. I think so, yeah. The 8-9 is Oregon hosting Notre Dame, with the winner advancing to play Ohio State. Like these 3 teams, you can't get away from each other.
So I want to spend a little time on that, but let's finish the bracket first.
The 6-11 Texas Tech hosting Miami, with the winner advancing to play Texas A&M. And the 7-10 is Ole Miss hosting Texas, with the winner advancing to play Indiana. So that bottom part of the bracket, as things stand right now, has Texas Tech, Texas A&M, and Texas.
So this is one of those where, like, for all this stuff, if this bracket has 3 Big Ten in it and 2 SEC in it, but we don't get an SEC Big Ten game in the first round, and potentially we wouldn't get it's just weird. We wouldn't get a Big Ten SEC game in the quarterfinals either.
No, you would have, the way this sets up, probably SEC, Bama versus Georgia, Ohio State against either Notre Dame or Oregon, A&M hosting either Miami or Tech, and Indiana hosting an SEC team. They're not hosting, but playing an SEC team.
I said that wrong. So Indiana would get 1, and then you potentially would have 2. I mean, if we wind up right, I mean, that we definitely could be heading toward that. Texas Tech very well might have something to say about that. Oregon and Notre Dame could. But the idea that the 2 teams in the SEC championship, the 2 teams in the Big Ten championship wind up as your 4 semifinal teams. If that happens, I just have fingers crossed that we'd get opposite semifinals, which I think we would, because the way things stand now, and you and I have been projecting this for a while, but it's like the Big Ten champ is 1, the Big Ten runner-up is 3. The SEC champ is 2, the SEC runner-up is 4. Like, I don't know what would get us off of that in a world where Ohio State and Indiana are 1-2, right?
I actually did change mine a little bit, because again, all I'm doing is looking at the schedules and doing win-loss. But the thing that I did pick, because I want something interesting to happen in the SEC. Texas winning out, I think, could get Texas Tech into one of those 4 spots. Because I gamed it out that Texas winning out would create, like, either an Alabama versus A&M SEC game, which a lot of people are projecting, or depending on certain tiebreaker parameters, it could create like an Alabama Ole Miss SEC title game.
Oh,
And I don't know that Ole Miss would be getting a bye as an SEC title game loser. And I don't think A&M would as the team that didn't play in the SEC title game. So then I think you could see a Texas Tech team that's a Big 12 champ with one loss get into one of those 4 spots.
okay. So you're monkeying around a little bit. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So we have what our bracket would be right now today. Why don't you give what you are now predicting to be as the 12-team field that will actually be the field at the end of the regular season? All right. Here we go.
Okay. All right. I have Ohio State 1, Big 10 champ. I have A&M 2, SEC champ. I have Indiana 3, Big 10 runner-up. And I have Texas Tech 4, Big 12 champ.
Okay.
And then I have Alabama 5. It's weird because like that, I just feel like Bama's got a loss in them before the end of the season. And like, I kind of think they're going to lose to Auburn because it'd be hilarious.
I love it.
So like that's Alabama with 3 losses, but also 3 losses, one of those losses coming in the SEC title game.
Right.
So I would still have them 5. And then you also have to, I think, kind of honor like some head-to-heads in the SEC. So I have Bama 5, Texas 6, because I think Texas is going to beat Georgia in this projection. Georgia 7, and then Georgia beat Ole Miss, so I have Ole Miss 8.
Okay.
And then I have Oregon 9, Notre Dame 10, Georgia Tech 11, and South Florida 12.
So like I like your bracket. I mean, it would make me angry in the moment, but that bracket is 4 SEC home games in the first round.
Yeah.
And they are hosting a Big 10 team, an independent team, an ACC team, and an American team.
Mm-hmm.
It's like
and
the
won't
SEC
it be fun when they all lose?
Invitational.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I don't like the idea of an SEC first round party, but I do like the idea of people having a chance to ruin a first round SEC party, right? Like, we'll be having a cotillion out by the pond. Please wear your finest, Alex Golish and Marcus Freeman. Oh my, what is Georgia Tech doing to those boys? Like Dan Lanning, that is not appropriate. Now you got something.
Yeah.
The SEC Invitational, they go 1-3. I
got a Dan Lanning versus Lane Kiffin here too.
Oh my God. Yeah. All right. We got to get you in the room because I get it. There's ranking and then there's a bracket making, and they're similar, but they're not the same.
That's right.
Okay. So I had Washington in my field last week. And so that's not going to happen anymore. So I had to find another team to put in. I have Ohio State 1, Texas A&M 2, Indiana 3, Alabama 4, Texas Tech 5, Georgia Tech 6, Notre Dame 7, Ole Miss 8, Oregon 9, Texas 10. And then I have not been having Georgia in, but I guess I have Georgia in, and then South Florida 12. So I have Georgia at 11. I don't feel great about it, but there's a couple things I want to talk about here. One is I said we'd talk about Ohio State as a 1 opposite the Oregon Notre Dame 8-9, which is like, it's possible. This is not like, this is something that is current, but also could be what happens. Like, is that on one hand, I want to see Ohio State play SEC teams. On the other hand, this Ohio State Oregon rivalry we think is a real thing and has a chance to be something. And that, all right, well, they played last year in a 1-8 and now we flipped it and they're playing again in another quarterfinal. Like, I'm kind of here for it. And also a quarterfinal rematch of the national championship game between Ohio State and Notre Dame, coached by a former Buckeye, and they're down the road from each other, and they just played each other twice in the regular season. My instinct is to be like, oh, man, I want to see Ohio State against an SEC team. But then actually it's sort of like, man, I think you're getting a banger either way there, and Ohio State fans would be into it.
I think they definitely be into it. I would understand like the fatigue of seeing familiar teams. We've had a lot of conversations though about what rivalries are and are going to be sort of in this new era and how they can be formed. And the way that they're formed is this, right? You just routinely see kind of the same teams over and over again in playoff games. Now Ohio State and Oregon have the benefit of being, conference partners. So that would be, they played twice last year. They would play this year. I think they're on the schedule for the next 2 years, right, against each other in the regular season. Like you could have like 6 Ohio State Oregon games in like 3 or 4 years, which would be pretty crazy. But then you're also talking about potentially 4 straight years of Ohio State's Notre Dame, right? Which is also kind of insane. So I would be fired up, I think, for either one. I think given a choice between, do you want to see Ohio State play one of those familiar teams in the Rose Bowl potentially, or play somebody new? I would probably vote for somebody new. But how can you be too upset about an Ohio State like Notre Dame Rose Bowl? Come on.
Yeah. No, I mean, the northern part of me, like I legitimately think, like, if Notre Dame gets in, right, that I would love the chances of Ohio State, Indiana, Oregon, and Notre Dame to take on anybody in the field that isn't playing themselves. And so the idea of, like, I think Ohio State, if the bracket worked out perfectly, I think your 4 semifinalists could be Ohio State, Indiana, Notre Dame, and Oregon.
Sure.
And that's not just Northern Doug talking. I mean, I am Northern Doug, but like I legitimately think that, because I think the SEC is filled with a bunch of puffed up frauds. But like, Texas Tech is good. I get it. I like Georgia Tech. But I actually think that could happen. But like, and we're not analyzing that right now, but you're threading a needle to try to do that, of like, well, then you got to make sure the 7's not against the 2. And like the way it's shaking out now, the idea that you're creating a little mini bracket where it's Oregon, Notre Dame, and Ohio State, and only one of them can make it. One of them is guaranteed to be in the semifinal, but only one of them is guaranteed to be in the semifinal. As much as I think that matchup of either of those teams against Ohio State would be fun, and like Oregon, Notre Dame would be awesome. Like, there's also a part of me that, like, well, I don't want to see that until a semi. So I would be a little disappointed by it.
It does bring up like the notion of, could this playoff ever evolve into like a truly regional exercise where the North, however you want to define it, the North, the Big Ten, whatever, the SEC, play it off to send their representatives to face each other for a championship? You could have something like that brewing potentially, which I think could be cool. Listen, it's been great to have North versus North national championships the last 2 years, and if that were to continue, that would be awesome. But the idea of having like a North-South battle too in the title game would be great. And also, like, I think you and I think Ohio State's going anywhere, right? In this part of the country, they're in the spot that they're in. But what's interesting is like who's going to occupy like the next rung down, or who's going to try to elevate themselves to Ohio State's level. And like Notre Dame and Oregon playing for that would be great.
Yes. So I mean, the playoff's going to be great. It really is quite the thing. Like, on one hand, like Indiana, Notre Dame last year was kind of like, oh man, I can't believe. But on the other hand, it's like, you mean the 2 teams that are like in the same state and never play each other are playing each other in Notre Dame Stadium in the snow in a first round playoff game that you attended? Like, was Notre Dame, Indiana cool or not?
Yeah, it was pretty cool. Yeah.
So it's like, I mean, I also want to see, like, what's our rule on like swearing on here?
I think you can get away with it every now and then. Yeah.
Okay, I'm just gonna say this real quick. Just if you're watching with a kid, it's live though. I'm just gonna say it real quick. Just prepare yourselves. I really want to see Ole Miss come north to freeze their nuts off. Okay, I'm not gonna say anything more. But there's other ways to have a good time, right? Yeah. But like, get me what Oregon just went through in Kinnick Stadium. Get me to the version of the playoff that has Ole Miss going to Kinnick in December. And sign me up for it 1,000 times out of 1,000, right? Like, that's part of what we want here.
I think there's a chance we get it, because it does feel to me like, based on how things have transpired thus far and what I think is likely to happen, that Ole Miss, Oregon, Notre Dame are kind of going to be lingering right around the middle, like the 8, 9, 10 spot. And I could see like number 8 Notre Dame hosting number 9 Ole Miss. I think that's possible.
Oh man. Like, can you give me Dan Lanning or Marcus Freeman taking Lane Kiffin out back in the first round? Oh, okay. Like, it's a version. It's like, what do you mean? It's like, no one's asking, like, what do you mean? It's like the thing that happened with Tennessee and Ohio Stadium last year. That. Because for all the great things that the playoff can give us, was there anything better than frozen Tennessee with their heated benches, right? Like, what was better than that?
Yeah, taking their shirts off, immediately regretting it. Everyone in the stadium laughing at them for their fake machismo. Yeah, it was awesome. I hope we see it. I guess I'm not super confident we're going to see it, but I'm going to hold out hope that we get at least one of those games.
Lane Kiffin coming north, filled with fake machismo. Please, that's all I'm asking for Christmas. I want an early Christmas present. Please give us that. Give us that. Let's talk about the upsets that we think could throw this thing off a little bit. Mm-hmm. And here's the thing, because again, like it's sometimes a lot of us can fall into a certain way of analyzing sports, which is like, in the moment, you're like, wow, upsets. That's how sports is. That's what makes sports great. We love when these crazy upsets happen. Now let's look into the future. In the future, we think all the higher ranked teams will win. Mm-hmm. And it's like, well, no, because sometimes, like, it's hard to predict which one. But if we're sitting here thinking about where teams are ranked now, what we think the bracket is going to be, I don't know which one it's going to be, but I think I would assume something goofy is going to happen. Are you, like, in the last 3 weeks of the regular season, are you kind of assuming that?
I think so. I guess we have to go back through an update and see how many ranked versus ranked games there are now based off of the new top 25 we just got. For instance, like I know one was at it because Cincinnati and BYU still play each other, and Cincinnati wasn't in last week. So I think there are too many games between teams in this top 25 that something weird is bound to happen. But the thing that feels like could be weirdest, which you touched on, is the Notre Dame Pitt thing, only because it has no bearing whatsoever on the ACC race, right? Which, like Pat Narduzzi said this week and people got mad about. But for instance, if Pitt were to win that game and knock Notre Dame out of the playoff, Pitt could still lose twice and like not be a non-factor in the playoff race. Like, you like eliminate a team without putting another team in its place is the kind of thing that I think really shakes things up, and that might be the game with the best chance of doing that.
And it's the thing. I mean, not everybody. You think about the sport however way you want to think about it. I think personally, it is fun to have the team that you root for and live and die with, right? But then sort of have like a secondary idea about the sport. And that can be conference related. It can be like, and then also I hate this team. So like for Ohio State fans, it's like, well, you root for Ohio State, you root against Michigan, but then maybe there's something else out there that's like, I really like this coach, or I think Alex Golesh is cool because he went to Ohio State, and I really want South Florida to win the American, or like, I think the Georgia Tech story is great, or like, for some reason I like Miami because I like orange and green. I actually do like orange and green. But one of the ways that you can do that is to root for the demise of the SEC and vote for like North versus South, right? So if you want to think about that, I at times I know the Big Ten, I think, is frustrated by Notre Dame, and there are plenty of people in the Big Ten who sort of are mad at Notre Dame. I occasionally throw my arm around Notre Dame and kind of squeeze them into the Big Ten when I think about stuff like this because of our northern roots.
Yeah, well, I kind of think you have to balance out the power a little bit as you think about it in the sport. And it's not to say that's not even like on the field kind of thing. It's sort of like the weight you wield within the sport and like decision making. I think it's important at times for the Big Ten to think of Notre Dame that way.
So if we are thinking of Notre Dame that way, I mean, the things that probably are borderline locked in right now are 4 from the SEC, 3 from the Big Ten, 1 from the Big 12, 1 from the ACC, and then the group of 6 teams. So that's 10 of the 12 spots. Mm-hmm. Notre Dame's the 11th spot. And Notre Dame, we think, pretty much has that spot if Notre Dame wins out. But if Notre Dame does not win out, Notre Dame is giving up that spot. It's black and white. It's black and like almost all the way white. They might be a scoot short of winning they're in if we're really talking about like all kinds of stuff in Miami, Notre Dame, or whatever. But losing they're out is for sure. And if Notre Dame loses, that's like that's another SEC spot, frankly. That's the That's where Vanderbilt goes, right? Yeah. That's where Oklahoma goes. That's where that real mid, kind of like the middest of the mid SEC teams. Greg Sankey has a little voodoo doll right now, hoping for Notre Dame to lose, and that makes me ill. So
yeah, well,
if you hate Notre Dame, I get it, but also, isn't it possible that no matter how much you hate Notre Dame, you hate the SEC more, root for the Fighting Irish?
I would think that's the case, but I don't know that it automatically introduces another SEC team, because like Oklahoma, if Oklahoma loses to Alabama, I'm not sure that would be the case. Vandy loses to Tennessee, I don't think that would be the case. So then you're talking about like Utah's back in play, I think, right? If that were to happen. I think USC, despite having the head-to-head loss to Notre Dame, could be in play because Notre Dame would have one more loss than USC, so maybe the head-to-head wouldn't matter. I think like the other game that stands a heck of a shot to shake things up if it were to happen again for the 5th time would be Michigan beating Ohio State. I don't think I'd want to be any 10-win at-large team being compared to the team that has a win against Ohio State.
I mean, I think 10-2 Michigan's in.
I think 10-2 Michigan's in too. It's just a matter of whose spot are they taking.
Right. So there kind of is so with Notre Dame in, that's still only 11 out of 12. There is kind of like one more that's for the 5th SEC team, the 2nd Big 12, the 2nd ACC, or the 4th Big 10. And so like if Michigan beats Ohio State and finishes 10-2, I think they claim that 12th spot.
What if USC is also
10-2 and finishes 10-2, I think USC claims that spot, right?
If USC and Michigan are both 10-2.
So, but not like it's like then it's like now like again, there's obviously a bunch of Ohio State people in here. It's like, oh man, wouldn't that be great? That's how you get 5 Big Ten in, and it's like, yeah. So now we're like, oh, wouldn't it be great if Michigan beat Ohio State and you get 5 in? But like that's what we're talking about here. So then that kind of idea, and I don't know that we're gonna pick that as among our upset picks that we actually think would be on the table to shake up the race. But either of them is possible.
Sure.
Michigan could beat Ohio State. USC could beat Oregon. It's possible. It's not like you see the efficiency of USC's offense. Their defense, I think you have real questions about. Northwestern kind of, did what they wanted to do for a while on them. But like, and whatever you think about the talent between Ohio State and Michigan, it's like, well, they beat them 4 times. I mean, you have to think that it's possible that Michigan would win 5. But that's where the Big Ten is. So,
yeah.
Talk about Notre Dame Pitt and whether you think, now we will pick this on our Friday national show. Do you think this actually has a decent chance of happening? I do think Notre Dame at Pitt is like an 11.5 or 12.5 point favorite.
12.5. Yeah, I still don't really know what to make of Notre Dame's defense. Because I don't know. I know that they played USC, but like it was a weird weather game. Like I don't know if I'm giving like the weather too much credit for having an impact on USC's offense not looking great against Notre Dame's defense, but like I think Mason Heinschel and that offense could find a way to throw the ball in Notre Dame a little bit. I guess the one thing that I like am thinking about as we prepare to pick that game later in the week is Pitt has had like offensive line, not a great offensive line for the last couple of years. Can they really block Notre Dame? And the answer could very well be no, but we know what that defense is. Like they're ferocious. They get after you. Those linebackers are awesome.
They're awesome.
I think they can cause problems for CJ Carr, and I think they can stop the run. So yes, I do think it can happen.
Syracuse and at Stanford, the last 2 games for Notre Dame. So it's like anything could happen. And that's the other thing too. It's like literally anything can happen, but both Syracuse and Stanford are 3-7. Like it would be asking a lot, but I don't know. Have we seen teams with records like that go ahead and beat top 10 teams before? Yeah. Have you paid attention to college football? So for me, the one that I would really I think is going to happen, but I don't, and it frustrates me. Like, I don't think it'll matter. God, it frustrates me. Is I do think Mississippi State's going to beat Ole Miss in the Egg Bowl. That feels like exactly the kind of thing, like a rivalry game like that. Lane Kiffin flying high, juggling 3 job offers, thinking they've got it locked down. And like, but the problem is they probably do. Because then that would be 2 losses for Ole Miss, and then is 10-2 Ole Miss in? Like they probably are.
Their other game is Florida. They host Florida, I think.
So it's like, are they gonna? So Florida, who just like benched DJ Lagway for part of last week, like I don't like. Could Ole Miss? Oh my God, what do I want more? Okay, I'm gonna offer you this choice. I'll offer the chat this choice. And by the way, if you're listening on a podcast, listening back, thanks for being here. If you're watching back on YouTube, thanks for being here. But if you're one of the ballers in the chat right now, live on YouTube, my God, you're the best. What would you rather have? Ole Miss loses to Florida and Mississippi State to end the regular season and miss the playoff, or Lane Kiffin goes on the road. Let's say they lose one of those two, but they get in at 10-2, and now they're playing a road game. Lane Kiffin goes on the road and gets stuffed in a trash can by Marcus Freeman or Dan Manning. Which would you prefer?
I'm picking the trash can.
I think I'm picking the trash can too. Good luck, Lane. So I think the way to thread that needle, because I think if they finish 11-1, they're getting a home playoff game.
Probably, yeah.
But to lose one of those two and then go in the trash can, that's attractive to us. There's just something about it, conjuring the image. All right, people are in. I think people are in on Lane Kiffin in the trash can. Fine fella. Good luck to him. Whatever. I can tell you this. When he's in the trash can, it will be the last image you ever see of him as the coach of Ole Miss, because he ain't coaching there next year. I don't know where he's going to be. Oh, okay. John says I'd prefer Ole Miss losing and missing the playoffs entirely. Guess, you know what? No. Lose two, because then another Big 10 team gets in. Stan says Lane at Notre Dame. You know what? Let's just all get together and just send weird vibes to Ole Miss, because we really want them to lose at least one.
Yes.
And then if our vibes are so successful that they lose two, we'll take it. Because if we're in a position, let's say they lose to Florida this week, and then if we're in a position where they kick a game-winning 54-yard field goal to beat Mississippi State to make the playoff, to get a road game at Oregon or Notre Dame, and that disappoints us, that's a pretty good disappointment, right?
Yeah, that's not bad. Yeah.
We got to root for Florida first. Okay, so I definitely think that could happen. And then the thing I really think, and I was really unsure about my last at-large spot. I wound up putting Georgia in there, but I think for me that's 9-3 Georgia.
I was going to ask, because you have Texas in too, and you've said all along that you think Georgia's going to lose at Georgia Tech.
Yes. So that's like 9-3 Georgia that just lost two of its last three and still gets in. Okay. Like there's a bloodbath, whatever. So because Vanderbilt loses to Tennessee and Oklahoma loses to Alabama. And like you said, there's a blood, like one 9-3 team gets in, and who is it? It's Georgia. So I didn't fully top the bottom research it, because I'm still so ticked at Washington, but those upsets would matter. But somehow, again, there's a part of me that's like, okay, so like Texas beats Georgia, but they don't knock out Georgia. That's actually kind of a bad scenario. We're going to also pick Texas, Georgia this week, because if Georgia beats Texas, Texas is on the verge of being out, right? Or at the very least, Texas has to beat Texas A&M to get in then, right?
I still think Texas at 9-3 with a win against Texas A&M would have a pretty good shot at getting in. Yes, but I don't think they're knocked out unless it's like a non-competitive loss to Georgia.
So it's one of those where it's like maybe Georgia could really hurt Texas, but Texas would only moderately hurt Georgia. But I don't know. So I don't even know how much that would shake up the races. But that's like Sankey's maneuvering this, man. He's not affecting the outcome of games, but like he knows what he wants to have happen, and it includes, a couple of their big dogs losing to a couple of their mid dogs to create this opportunity for 6. But I do think otherwise, if the SEC goes a little more chalk, like if Texas loses to Texas is not going to be favored. It's not favored against Georgia. It's the 6.5 point spread for Georgia, and Texas won't be favored against Texas A&M. If Texas loses both of those, Texas is out, right? So that's one. If Vanderbilt loses to Tennessee, they're out. That's one. And all of a sudden, now you're bringing Utah. Now you're bringing Miami. Now you're bringing Michigan or USC. If they get that upset win, you're bringing that back in. So I just think if you can't find the specificity of what you should root for in the SEC, just generally send bad vibes their way and then just kick back. And when it comes across on the ticker, just root for chaos.
Yeah, it is hard to find the specificity, because even like I said, like in sort of just gaming things out, I ended up with a wonky 3 or 4 way tie, I think, to see who goes to Atlanta. And one of the tiebreakers is scoring margin, which like you can't really account for when you're just picking winners and losers. Like I don't know, it could be any one of like 4 or 5 different combinations of teams playing in the SEC title game. So it's kind of hard to pinpoint exactly what you'd like to root for.
And sometimes in tiebreakers, it's like, well, it's based on who's your conference record, like what your opponent's overall record was. And it's like, was their winning percentage 631 and someone else's total winning percentage of opponents was 648, but you don't know that until you see who wins and loses over the final 3 weeks. So I think it's pretty good. I don't want to do this on this show because I think it's a separate show. But one of the things about like, hey, SEC, you get 4, figure out your 4, and we'll see you in the playoff. The Big Ten, you get 4, figure out your 4, and we'll see you in the playoff. I think there's a part of that actually is like, well, you get 4, you get 4, you get 2, you get 2. We get it. Not all conferences are created equal. And then almost like figure it out how you want to, and we'll see you in the playoff. I think there is kind of like a fairness to that, because then it's like, well, our conference is deeper, but it's not as strong as the top. So it actually helps. But I think I would miss this as I'm realizing this during the course of this, that if it's too cut and dry, I've kind of thought, like, a lot of people are against the AQs. Greg Sankey's against the AQs again this week. I've kind of liked the AQs, but actually I think I would miss the chaos a little bit. I at least would miss talking about the chaos, because don't we think it's fun to sit here and rail about Ole Miss, knowing that there's not about guaranteed spots, that like you can still throw your season away, right?
Yeah, I think we've had this conversation before. Like I don't wait with excitement for the era of college football where they kind of remove subjectivity from the equation entirely. And this allows us to hold on to a little bit of that, I think, while making slightly more sense than we used to in determining the champion. So no, I would miss this. By the way, did you see the column in AL.com today that people were sending at you on Twitter?
I did, and I think I will respond probably.
Okay, just wanted to make sure you saw it.
It's a column. I didn't read the whole thing, but the column is basically like the most overrated team in college football is Oregon.
Yes, and that the Big Ten should only have 2 teams in the playoff, and that the reason the Big Ten wants automatic qualifiers is because if they didn't, every year the SEC would have 6 or 7 teams in the playoff.
I have a response to that. I would have a response to that. Yeah, give me 15 minutes. It'll be on the internet. Okay. I'd write the first 250 words of that in 30 seconds.
Here's what you need to do. You need to write the rebuttal column, but make it free. Make it free.
Oh yeah. That's for the people. Like we love our Substack subscribers, but sometimes the people need to see it. Okay, that's our playoff show. I don't know what to do about this, and we've seen it in a couple places. Lots of podcasts and shows like have ads, right? And read ads. Mm-hmm. And I try to spice up the ads and make it exciting. And I don't read a thing. I just talk, I just start talking. Yeah. Maybe that's the wrong way to do it. But now people are making jokes about the ad reads a little bit. And I don't know what to do. I want to do right by the company, but like we have to do ad reads, right? What do you think I should do? Should we just make a commercial so it's the same every time?
No, I like the way I when I've done it the few times I've done it myself, I just sort of like read it as it was sent to us. But also it talks about fall, like it's winter now because it was 30 degrees today. So what are you gonna do? Yeah.
So I mean, I know people are like, oh God, here comes Doug with a thing. But it's like, I mean, it's a fine product and it helps us make money, right?
It does.
So I'm gonna do it right now. Is everybody ready for it? I set it up. Get a quarter zip, get a hoodie, get a polo. Go to Rhoback.com, RHOBACK.com. Use the code BAD20, BAD20. You'll get 20% off your first order. They have like regular clothes. Like, hey, that's a gray hoodie. Yeah, that's cool. I like a gray hoodie. But now, do you want a little logo on your thing? Oh, it's like a gray hoodie and it's got a little logo on it. Oh, it's subtle, but it's like classy. Oh, I'm going to add that to my wardrobe to support my team. Rhoback.com is the place to do it. RHOBACK.com. Bad 20 is the code. Thanks to everybody who's here. I genuinely mean this. If you're in this chat right now, if you're listening anywhere, we're so appreciative. If you're in this chat right now, I love you. I do. Because I have enough love in my heart for everybody who's here. And I mean it, because you've chosen to interact with us in life, and we share a planet with a certain number of people, and most of them you never meet. And most of these people we haven't met in person, some we have, but they have chosen to share this time with us. Bill, I love them for that. Do you love them too?
Of course I do. Yes. Yeah. Think of all the things you could be doing on a Tuesday evening.
God.
Besides listening to the two of us talk about Lane Kiffin getting stuffed into a trash can. And yet you're here. We love you for that.
I love it. You guys are the best. Thanks for being here. Bunch more stuff coming on YouTube and podcast feeds this week. If you want more Ohio State coverage, Bill and Doug, osu.substack.com for now. He's Bill Landis. I'm Doug Lesmerises. And that was the Bill and Doug Show.